All right. Happy Monday, top of the week, whatever day you might be watching this. We are back. Alicia, how are you feeling today?
I am feeling good, like really charged up, ready, like just doing the work, doing the work. I'm good. I cannot complain.
Yes, I love it. Well, we are rolling. If you have been joining us for the last couple of weeks, we've been in the midst of a bit of a, I guess maybe like an authenticity series slash showing up fully, not only in your career and in your leadership, but also in your life. And so we've taken this bit of a tour from LinkedIn to Instagram to even cross sharing and making sure our folks on Facebook and YouTube and all the places have access to this conversation. And I believe this is going to be one where you all are going to want to tag in, tap in, phone a friend, tag a friend, because we're going to talk about a topic today that we don't normally talk about in the quote unquote professional development space. And that is changing your mind. So let me know, Alicia, just like when you hear that language and you think about not only what you get to help companies do, but even your own career journey, like what has changing your mind looked like for you in your career?
Oh goodness. First of all, I'm just loving this series, and also too that we've been giving ourselves the permission to go back and forth, not just focus on one platform, but make sure we're roping in, all the platforms so folks can get this good deliverance from all the places. But one of the things that how it has shown up for me in changing my mind is there's a quote that my mother used to say to me all the time, and she'd say, "A jack of all trades." What was it? It's what is the
A
quote?
jack of all trades is a master of none.
Yes. She would always say to me, you don't want to be a jack of all trades because then you'll be a master of none. And I used to get confused because I'm just like, but who only wants to do one thing? Like, girl, bye. I would say it in my heart though, not out loud. And then
Inside.
inside, it was an inside thing. But then as I got older, I heard the full quote is a jack of all trades, but a master of none is better than being a master of one. As in, it is absolutely okay for you to have multiple masteries, because then when you are ready to change your mind or shift or decide that there is something that works better for you in this season or in this space and in this place, it gives you the freedom and the skill set to be able to shift and adjust without so much pushback, because you're skilled in multiple areas. But that is something, especially nowadays, that folks will say, oh well, you stay at a job for only a year, or you're in a position for only a couple of years. How can we trust um, how can we trust that you will remain an asset to our organization? And here's the thing, it is absolutely okay to get into an organization, make as much impact as humanly possible, and then decide that, hey, there's another area in the organization that I would like to go into. It's okay to say, what I thought I wanted is not what aligns in this season for what's being required of me, for what I'm experiencing, for what I'm going through. It's okay to acknowledge that, hey, I need to change or shift or evolve, and it's okay. Anything that does not grow dies. Say what you want to say, feel how you want to feel, but that is just a fact, not a feeling, but a fact. So if you are not growing, if you are not evolving, if you are not allowing yourself to explore, then you're missing out on the best pieces and parts of yourself, because you've stunted yourself into this one position, this one organization, this one area, and they're getting diminishing returns just like you're getting diminishing returns. So keeping someone or keeping yourself stuck in a place that clearly you can see you're either no longer good at because your heart's not in it anymore, or you're no longer have that passion for it, or you're no longer desire to make the impact that you once made, because things have shifted. I feel there is so much power and so much growth when you allow yourself to change your mind. And I know, Brittany, you were going to go into let us know, what has changing your mind looked like for you. But for me, it looked like closing down my marketing firm that I had for, over 8 years. And we had some really amazing clients. I mean, some really, really dope clients like Soledad O'Brien's and Daya Coleman. We worked with Verizon on a few of their campaigns. Like, we had some major, major, opportunities and clients, but I no longer liked marketing and branding. I didn't like it anymore. Did not like it. Stick a fork in me. I was done with it. However, allowing myself to change allowed me to then go into a whole nother avenue and lane where I feel so much more fulfilled, where I'm more at peace. And what that has done is it now allows me to serve my now clients in a much better capacity because my heart's in it. And I'm not just doing it based off of, okay, rote memory. I know, or, I do this, I do that, and this is the outcome. So I think there is absolutely so much power and growth when you just simply allow yourself to change your mind. And when you do decide that, okay, I need to change my mind, do your research. What will this next level require of you? What types of skills do you need to hone and perfect? What will you need to do so that you can ensure that you are ready to go to that next level? So now, hey, Brittany. So I want to ask you.
Yes.
So what has change looked like for you in your career? Like, what does that look like? How have you navigated it? Especially when folks didn't understand, because many times it's the folks on the outside who are making us feel so bad about the shift and the change that we want to make. Now, we're already in our heads saying like, oh no, should I, could I, would I? And then the folks on the outside, they affirm those thoughts in your head. So what does that change look like for you?
Yeah, I'm with Chad. Chad is saying preach in the comments. And I was over here nodding right along because so much of what you said really resonates. For me, I can remember being mid-career, about maybe 9 years into my sales career, and really being internally fixed and sure and confident that I wanted my next role to be in marketing. So I wanted to make this transition, which at the time was a quote unquote big transition from sales into marketing. And it is, I'm using air quotes, but it is. Sales and marketing are related, but they're different. So and that was not the natural career path. And so oftentimes when I am speaking with career professionals, with HR leaders, it's really around helping people to understand the power in owning your career development. Like, your career is your career. And yes, there is oftentimes, especially at great companies, a career pathway, a trajectory, a ladder, even sometimes, even, nowadays with the workforce of 2023, more of a career lattice where someone has thought from a talent management perspective, oh, you're here in order to get here are the steps that you need to take. And while that often serves as a guide, you are still the owner, right? You are still in charge of your ride, your career pathway. And so for me, I can remember the next step in my career path at the time was to be a people leader within the sales division, and work my way up through the sales organization, and then maybe take some type of, like, part-time, we called them secondments, which was like an internal, thought of it as almost like an internal internship within the organization to test out another project in another department. That's how you would get your experience before you decided whether or not you wanted to take that leap in terms of your full-time role. And I just knew that, like, hey, I want this experience now. And it really took that assuredness, but also that kind of confidence in my own decision around my career path to be able to say, you know what? Like, yeah, this will be great, but I think I want to move in this direction, and to be able to bring people along to help them help me to make that move. I can also remember similarly, an opportunity came for me to move into marketing earlier than my family dynamic was ready for me to move, and me having to change my mind in the middle of a process to say, I want this role. This is definitely aligned with my aspiration, but the details, you all know what happens, right, when you're interviewing for a role, and then towards the end of that process, you get all those relocation package detail and all the fine print, right? And I can remember changing my mind and that having a ripple effect in my career, a damage control kind of ripple effect. Really, I write about it in my book, Thrive Through It. It was a source of career grief for me because I disappointed a lot of people in changing my mind. Right, there were a lot of people like, "Oh, you need to take this path," and once I said, I kind of started moving in that direction. And once I got around the corner where I could really see what was going on, I was like, "Oh, you know what? I'm not sure that this is the time for this way, right, for me." And I think for so many of us, what we end up doing in situations like that is listening more to what people outside of us think that we should be doing and what, and they could be mentors, they could be coaches, right? Our managers, like what they think versus letting our internal guide, intuition direct us into what's next. And while, I believe wise counsel is important, you are still the owner of your career. And so whether you are, changing direction and whether you are changing your mind about something after you've taken some steps in that direction, or for many of the career professionals from a coaching standpoint that are like, 10, maybe, from I would say 10 to 15 years in, there sometimes is that career grief that is associated with one of two things. Either I thought I would be here by now, insert blank, right? I thought it would be blank by now, whatever that here might be for you. That's one level of it. Then the other level of it is, oh, I am here and this is not what I thought it would be. And I would say to you that that last one almost stings more because what you start to realize is the time, the effort, the energy, the blood, the sweat and tears, right? We're being cliche, that you put into getting to a place, arriving there only to recognize, was this what I wanted? Or have I pursued someone else's dream, someone else's idea of where I should be? And I don't even like the place that I'm in, right? And oftentimes it's those experiences that are connected to our career that can cause some mental and emotional disruption, right? That can take us into more of a health and well-being conversation. But I think all of it requires us to give ourselves the grace to be able to say, you know what? Whether I'm 15 years in or 5 years in or 5 months in, it's okay for me to change my mind.
Listen, first of all, you just said so much there that I don't even know where I'm going to start. However, what I will say is the yes, seeking wise counsel, and also still understanding that your voice is what matters most and you have the final say. You have the final say. Your mentor, and it's so funny. So my mentor, love her to pieces. She told me a number of years back, "Hey, I see you working in this avenue." And I was like, "Oh, absolutely not. I couldn't see it. I wasn't trying to do it. The timing was not what was best suited for me at that time." And I listened to what she had to say. I said, "Thank you so much for sharing this with me." And I knew because I was not ready, I didn't immediately go into it because I said, I'm gonna mess this one up if I take this move right now. The right thing at the wrong time is still the wrong thing because you're not ready for it. If you take the cake out of the oven before it's fully had the chance to process and to bake and to solidify, you've ruined what could be something absolutely amazing because you did not accept and respect the timing of things. Your life has a time and a cadence, and that timing should be respected based on what you're experiencing, even if it is the opportunity of a lifetime. Because I've had clients who have had the opportunities of a lifetime, but because they were not ready, not only did they squander that opportunity of a lifetime, but it sent them into places and spaces they mentally were not ready for. They could not handle what came with that opportunity of a lifetime because they were not ready for it. And it is okay to say that, yes, this is amazing. This is wonderful. This is awesome. And it is not for me right now. That's okay. I always tell folks, especially when you were talking about, 'cause I told you there was so much that I was just listening and dissecting in there. But when you were talking about, is this my dream or is this someone else's? And with my clients, a lot of times I'll have them to create a matters most list. And I have them to create that matters most list in usually 3 areas: love, life, and their business or their professional experience, right? So what matters most to you, and just pick 2 to 3 things in your, especially when it comes to your career evolution, pick 2 or 3 things that matter most to you in those areas. If you know in your professional career or in your business career that what matters most to you in this season is to be able to be home every night by 7 o'clock, to be able to cook dinner and spend time with your partner or your young children, or if you're caretaking for parents, if you know that matters most to you, then an opportunity of a lifetime that requires, 40% travel, it is not the opportunity of your lifetime, especially not in this space and time. So honoring that is of utmost importance, because then it allows you to be at peace with the cadence of your life, and it allows you to accept and understand that success and progress in different stages looks different. Success for me at 25 is very, very different than success for me at 37. It's different because I'm in a totally different space. And what I needed and what mattered for me then is different from what I need and what matters to me now. It's just different.
Yeah. Yeah, that reminds me, I'm hearing Tashonda Brown Duckett in my head. And let me take a step back and acknowledge there are certain conversations that we typically only have when the audience is women versus when the audience is men, or
Mm-hmm.
even when the audience is both. One of those topics that we typically only have when the audience is women is this conversation around work-life integration. Like, let me know the last time you went to a men's leadership conference and saw a topic on work-life balance, work like you we don't do that. So I just want to
Never
acknowledge that. Right. I just want to acknowledge that bias that's out there. And anytime a human is present, bias is present. So it's okay. Take a deep breath, right? We all have it. But I will say, she has one of the best, I believe, examples of really what that looks like. And so Tashonda talks about living your life like a diversified portfolio. So if you think
had.
about the way a financial advisor, or maybe even manage your wealth, like you manage your investments based on the market dynamics. And when the market dynamics change, the percentage of what you're invested in at the time also shifts. And
Yep.
so I'll never forget, she was giving a keynote here in Nashville, and she was talking about how, number one, like one paradigm shift for all of us, not just women, is that one, we only have 100%. Like, now I know you when you get an interview and you're sitting across from a hiring manager and you said, I'm giving 100%, and I just loved her like max level of authenticity. Because, like, that's not true. Like, we only have, as people, as humans, we
Yeah.
only have 100% to give. So we're already, like, back on this theme of authenticity, but one that's always there. Like, we're already being inauthentic by saying, oh, okay, I've got 100 I can give over here, 100 I give at home, 100 I give as a caregiver, 100 I give as a partner. Like, no,
Not
you have
possible.
100 in total, right? And so she talked about how, much like you would look at your investment portfolio, like, how are you making investments and then altering those percentages based on the season that you're in, or based on, like we were mentioning, whether it's age or whether it's just life and circumstances, and
Yep.
making sure that you are aware of what you need in certain moments and making those necessary adjustments. I think that's so huge, and it can have an impact on your decision making, or your
Mm-hmm.
or the changing of your mind around something that you want, but also something that you may want, but it may not be the right time. The other thing, Alicia, some language to in this space, because of my DEI hat, and it's just always on, it just is. Like, I believe it's a core competency of leadership, period. So it's not anything extra that we have, but acknowledging what the science and what the data tells us about how women approach career advancement and how men
Mm-hmm.
approach career advancement. So for women, we are much more likely to see a job posting, even as an internal candidate, like even as an employee of the organization, where you are looking to be promoted from within, right? To pass up the opportunity to put our name in the hat to be promoted because we only check 8 out of the 10 boxes, right? And a
Mm-hmm.
man will look at that very same job posting, have the same credentials, the same skill set as a woman, and have 2 out of the 10 and say, oh yeah, this is the job for me and I can
This
do it
the one.
about it, right? And so
This
I
the
do
one.
want to acknowledge that some of like the readiness or timing, right, especially for women that are listening, right, give yourself the grace to know, one, you don't have to check all the boxes, but two, there is an element of wisdom that I believe is necessary when you're thinking about how you perceive your, especially when we get into this conversation around like readiness for advancement or readiness for
Mhm.
what's next, and how you measure that up against what other people see in you. Because I certainly, and Alicia, I'm sure you have too, like had experiences where there have been moments in my career where, whether it was a mentor or a manager that I was reporting into, saw, I won't say more, I'll just say a different side of me that I did not see. Right. Like my
Mm,
level of self-awareness had in that area had to catch up to what they were noticing in me so that I could say,
mhm.
oh, you know what? Like, I'm glad that you nominated me for that leadership role, or I'm glad that you recommended me for that plus one project, because I may have looked at it and thought I wasn't ready, but I believe you're right. Like I have demonstrated
Yeah.
the skill. So I think there's a space in place for that as well. You just want to make sure that you are, I think what we're sharing today, as the owner of your career, making that final decision.
Absolutely. Because you have the final say, and you are the one who will have to deal with the consequences of whatever that is,
Hmm.
be it good, be it bad, be it indifferent. You get to deal with it, for whatever it is. And for those who are like, but I've only been in this area. One of the things, whenever you are looking to evolve, and I think this is something that is commonplace, but we're gonna say it again as just in case, because we're not assuming that you have the knowledge, is take a look at the skills that you've developed, curated, mastered, over whatever your time frame has been, and then create direct lines of correlation to what it is that you're going into, so that you can confidently speak to, hey, this is how what I've done in the past will assist and help me in growing in this next space and place. Like,
Hmm.
this is why I'm going to be excellent at this, because I was proficient or because I mastered this piece over here. There's such value in knowing that nothing is ever lost. It
Yeah.
really isn't. Because what I learned, and it's so crazy because I was looking at this RFP today, and that we're going to go after, centered around equity and learning and development and all the things. And what I realized is that specific RFP, the reason I'd be a superior candidate for the opportunity is simply because I was the project manager for a learning and development MOOC that was developed, 10 years ago in partnership with LinkedIn and the NBA. And because of my experience with that, all those many years ago, and what I'm doing now, there is a direct correlation and a direct line to, okay, this is how now, because I started there and of course have developed my skills over the years, I now would be a really great candidate with what I'm doing now for this particular RFP that is a bare minimum $1.5 million. But if you think that, okay, if I shift here, then I'll be seen as flighty, or I'll be seen as, someone who's not committed. No, you'll be seen as someone who is making sure that you spread your good talent, skills, and abilities, that you spread it across multiple learning avenues so that you can ensure that you are providing the absolute best to whatever organization you are a part of. Shift how you're thinking of it.
Your That's what your employer is doing. It's like, take a beat from the business that you work in and just take a step back and observe, right, the changes that are made, the diversification that happens, the innovation that happens to test new markets, to try new things, right? You are the CEO of you. So whether you are entrepreneurial or not, whether you own a business or have a side hustle or whatever the case may be, in the context of that conversation, and by the way, close to 50% of the workforce does. So maybe that's another topic for another time. But I know so often, like, especially when we're having conversations with people leaders, they typically will sigh around the entrepreneurial conversation, but it's like roughly half of your team probably is doing something else on the side, whether you know that they are or not, right?
Whether
That's
you know it or not, whether
workforce
you are
data
aware.
tells us. So, we can either talk about it or not.
Yeah.
And I see it as a benefit for businesses, for organizations. It also oftentimes is a signal that person's talent and potential is underutilized, right? That there is more that they could be doing inside of the organization to impact the bottom line. But that happens. And so as your business, as the employer, let me be specific, that the company that you are part of is changing and evolving and testing new things. I think the same is true when you step into the mindset of I am the owner of my career, right? I am the owner of my career development. So my learning and development, my growth, my capacity building, like that's not on my manager.
Nope.
Right? They have a responsibility, sure, right? But as a thriver, as a leader, as someone who says, you know what, like I see where I am and I don't want to stay in this place forever. Like I'm ready for the next level. And that doesn't always
Yeah.
mean a change in title, but that means like I want to grow as someone who has a growth mindset in that direction, right? Like you are the owner of your career development. So you have a say, right?
Yeah.
And can certainly, that's what, even when we talk about, you know, probably more HR terms like leading up, you know,
Yep.
that's what that means. It means you're an owner and you're seeing around the bend, around the corner of your own career development, and you're making suggestions and you're creating opportunities where there may not be any, by the way, right? But you're
Mhm.
creating the experience that you want to have so you can look back and say, oh, okay, yeah, this is the career that I designed for me, not
Yep.
one that I waited on to be developed for me, or not I'm sitting back waiting on permission for someone to say that I'm ready for the next thing when I have the capacity and the competency to create the career that I would like to see. So
Yes.
that's what
This
we
is good.
encourage y'all with today.
Listen, this was some good word. If you all have been enjoying this 30-day challenge for us, remember sometimes we'll be on LinkedIn, sometimes we'll be on Let Insta, and then also Meta, aka Facebook. Um, but this week we're gonna primarily focus on LinkedIn. But make sure you share this with some folks who want to get caught up in the series, or who just need some a different point of view or some encouragement to take the step to become the master of their own careers, and to become a driver in what they know works for them. Make sure you share this. Okay, this is some good information here, and we want to make sure that folks have what they need to thrive through it.
Yes, yes. And we'll think of, I'm glad you said that, Alicia, because I was sitting here thinking, I'm like, oh, we probably should have like a hashtag. And that way it'd be really easy to find, especially on LinkedIn. Like you could find all of the content in the series. So we'll work on that. We also will let you all know this week, as Alicia said, we'll be on LinkedIn. So stay close to the dates and times. We'll try to get those posts up so that you can join and share before we go live. Oh, and also I was going to say, if you have any questions, hey, Laurinette, hey, April, good to see you on as well. If y'all have any questions or topics that you would like for us to tackle, as we've been in this authenticity challenge, and changing your mind is part of that evolution, please feel free to let us know. And we will make sure that we get those included before we wrap up this month. I think is this week 3 for us?
I think this is week 3.
Okay.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah, this is week 3. We are doing it.
I love it. I love it. Simone, thank you so much for joining us. Glad that you all were here and able to tap into this conversation. And we hope that, not that you needed permission, right? Because that's what owning your power is about. Like it's about this mindset that like the only permission that you need is your own decision making, your own instinct, and your own ability to change course or to go in a different direction. But we hope that this helps you to show up a bit more authentically, even if that means changing your mind on something that you said that you wanted, or discovering that there's something new that you want to go after, maybe even a new aspiration. And so set up those meetings, have those conversations, lead your manager in being your advocate, right? Sometimes, and this is the last thing I'll say on this topic, you know, and I do acknowledge the audience, the natural audience that we would attract by nature of our representation. So I'll speak specifically here for a moment to women, and more specifically to Black women, right? Sometimes, and I had to learn this, so I'll speak about my own experience. Early in my career, I had to step outside of my sports mindset in terms of how I was approaching my career. So I grew up playing AAU ball, basketball, volleyball, all of the things. And the way you're taught in sports, at least the way I was taught, back then. Ooh, I did do that, didn't I? I mean, I got a little grades where I feel like I can get away with it now. But I was taught, right? Like your game, your performance speaks for you. Right? Like
Mm,
I didn't have to talk on the field. I didn't have the like back and forth. I didn't do any of that because my stats spoke. Right?
mm,
You saw the performance. You saw what I was able to deliver because we not only won the game, but you can run down the list and you see the stats. So you knew it was serious, right? And then I came into corporate and I tried to apply that same mindset. And please, man, please, sir, please no, it does not work that way. Okay. So
oh,
in order to advance your career, performance is table stakes. It's 10% of career advancement. The other 90% is your image and exposure. So lifting your head up and actually putting some talk with your walk, not waiting on someone to choose you and invite you into what's next, but for you to open up your mouth and to share what you're doing, how you're adding value, what you're learning, how you're growing, and to point other people, other leaders, more specifically, in the direction that you want to go so they can help you get there, right? So it's a completely
yes.
different approach when you are working, especially in a corporate environment. I would even say nonprofit as well, but particularly in a matrix corporate environment where if you're waiting for somebody to be like, oh, she's so great, they're going to say, oh, she's so great, he's so great. We're going to keep them right there being great where they are, right?
Listen,
We're
because
going
I
to keep
need
them
you to keep
talented
doing
where
the work. I
right.
need you to keep doing the work. So I always listen. I know we said we was gonna go real quick. I promise. I always say, and I did a campaign with LinkedIn about how you can take up space professionally. And one of the things that I emphasized is your work does not speak for you. It does not have a voice box, but you do. So learn how to use that voice box to speak up. Don't just get into an organization and just put your head down and you work, 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 work. You are the most productive member on the team because you will remain the most productive member on the team and you will never be able to go into leadership because number one, you are not understanding the social dynamics of what happens once you get to certain levels. They need to see, do I like you as a human to be able to work with you, in connection, head to head, tete to tete. But if all you're doing is getting into your organizations and just putting your head down and putting in the hard work, getting a promotion, growing in that role. No disrespect to you. I don't mean to sound disrespectful, but it's gonna be real hard. I try not to say never, but it's going to be real hard for you to grow and get the promotions and advance the way you want to because you're not also building the relationships. So, yes, move in excellence and also build relationships and understand what you need to do to be able to grow in the places and ways that you want. That was it. That was my little 2 cents. Your
Love
work don't speak to you.
it. Ditto. And that's why we're here. And that's why we will be here this week to help you take those steps forward to thrive in your career. So thank you so much for being here. It's great to see you all everywhere, right? That's why I love technology, right? We can work smarter, not harder. So to our LinkedIn peeps, Facebook, YouTube, where else are we streaming right now? All over the world.
All
Podcasts,
all the
all over the
places.
world, like everybody. Okay. Thank y'all for joining us. And we will be back tomorrow. And we can't wait for you to join us. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.